For the past 9 years, Tellytrack, which is jointly owned by Phumelela Gaming and Leisure Limited and Gold Circle Racing, under the banner of Phumelela Gold Enterprises, has broadcast live horse racing events and racing infotainment to TAB betting outlets, to bookmaking premises and to DSTV's multi-choice subscribers. It had made its debut on the DSTV platform 3 years previously, when it was branded as Supertrack, but rates as a very much bigger and more sophisticated operation today. Right now, Tellytrack also provides an international racing service comprising local South African racing and racing from several different countries abroad, featuring events both commonplace and at the highest level of competition, to over 40 countries, mainly for wagering purposes. Countries from which Tellytrack takes regular feeds are the UK, Australia, Sweden, Italy, Turkey, Hong Kong, Singapore, Mauritius and Macau, whilst it also features occasional feeds from Ireland, from France and from the USA, the latter mostly when there's top-class racing fare on offer, such as the Breeders' Cup or the Triple Crown series. On the African continent, Tellytrack covers weekend meetings in both Zimbabwe and Kenya, mainly for altruistic reasons to foster the sport of horse racing in those countries. Since its inception, Tellytrack has formed a part of the multi-choice bouquet, but it is obvious that due to horse racing's demographics and its fan base, it would be far better served by forming part of a digital, terrestrial, free-to-air setup, such as that which the Sabc will be providing in future. Right now, the vast majority of Tellytrack viewers are patrons of off-course totalisator outlets, many of whom cannot afford even the limited bouquets provided by MultiChoice for home viewing. The Tellytrack signal is also beamed to bookmakers' outlets and is available even on limited bouquets to MultiChoice home subscribers. However, this does not afford horse racing's operators the opportunity to grow the sport and to educate potential horse racing fans. Nor does it bring what is billed the sport of the people to the people. South African horse racing and breeding has a long and proud heritage dating back to the time of the occupation of the Cape by the British military over 200 years ago, and the South African thoroughbred holds its own on the world stage today. Horses like London News and Horse Chestnut, in the latter part of the last century, blazed a trail in the USA and the Far East, which has been followed by the likes of JPEG and Lizard's Design, amongst others, who've won at the highest level in Dubai and the Far East. Moreover, the establishment of a jockey academy in KwaZulu-Natal over 50 years ago has seen to it that the country has produced some very fine riders over the years, with turf heroes of the calibre of 11 times South African champion jockey Michael Roberts having captured the British Championship in the early 1990s, and jockeys like Basil Marcus and Douglas White having completely dominated racing in Hong Kong in their respective eras. South African racehorse trainers like the pioneering Mike de Kock, Herman Brown and Patrick Shaw in Singapore have earned international respect amongst racing fans. De Kock, in particular, has become a colossus on the world racing stage, having won races in many overseas countries, including Dubai, where his runners have pulled off some of the world's most valuable races. The Dubai Racing Carnival from January to March of every year also enjoys full Tellytrack coverage. South Africa has much to be proud of insofar as its international racing achievements are concerned, but such is the limited nature of the present Tellytrack footprint that these achievements do not come to be appreciated by the populace at large. A wider footprint for the Tellytrack channel would ensure that our top jockeys and trainers come to assume their rightful places as international sporting heroes. There's a very strong following for horse racing amongst peoples of colour in South Africa, with the Indian population dominating in KwaZulu-Natal, coloured people being staunch fans in the Cape, and black fans being dominant at both racecourses and off-course betting outlets in most other parts of the country. A visit to any off-course totalisator outlet in South Africa will reveal that black patrons constitute by far the majority of racing fans, but few of them participate in the sport as owners and trainers, and it's only been in recent years that black and Indian jockeys have demonstrated their skill and strength in the saddle. Some of the rising stars in South Africa's jockey ranks are young men and women from previously disadvantaged backgrounds. Horse racing indirectly employs over 100,000 people in this country, but the limited reach of the present Tellytrack service and the lack of major racing events on the SABC's free-to-air channels in recent years has hampered efforts to bring the career prospects which it offers to the attention of the public at large. This is notwithstanding the fact that Tellytrack's standards of coverage of racing events, whilst perhaps lacking the ultra-sophisticated technical resources of British, French, American and Australian racing, have reached a very acceptable level, aided by imaginative use of tracking cameras and packaging which affords optimal coverage within the time restraints imposed by a one-channel situation. Such is the scope and extent of present Tellytrack coverage that first prize would be 2 channels, the one a full production with significant outside broadcast input to serve all local South African racing, and the other providing both local and international racing on a wall-to-wall basis. It's envisaged that a second international channel would operate from 6 a.m. each day, with racing from Sky Channel in Australia leading into local South African racing at around noon, with much of the mid-afternoon content coming from the UK. Live racing would end with racing from the USA to take viewers through until 2300 hours. This would provide 17 hours of live sporting coverage 364 days of the year. At the present time, Tellytrack's magazine shows, which include the likes of the daily Race Day preview, the international racing show World Focus, the weekly chat show Winning Ways, the fortnightly Inside Racing, the popular weekend racing previews entitled Understarters Orders, the weekly Winner's Circle, which is also aired on Supersport, and Neil Andrews' Betting World shows, cater for an audience which is already fairly well steeped in racing and sports. But there is room for a show which inducts newcomers into racing. All aspects of production at Tellytrack are self-contained, with the company currently leasing premises at the Telemedia headquarters in Rivonia in Johannesburg, where 2 fully equipped studios provide the full range of services to viewers. A migration to the SABC's DTT service would undoubtedly offer a mutually beneficial relationship between the national broadcaster and the horse racing channel, with the former benefiting by the acquisition of a highly entertaining and self-funding sports channel, and the latter by the far wider dissemination of its product to South African viewership.